Hey guys, happy Friday. I have a friend that reached out to me this morning and suggested that I make a video centered around tips for setting up at a card show. I've been a dealer for the last 4 years, and I don't know if this person is completely new to the whole card show thing, being a dealer and whatnot, or if he hasn't done it in a long time. But my knee jerk reaction to his question or his suggestion about making this video was, why would I do that? It's a terrible idea. And by the way, don't set up at a car show. It makes no sense. So in this video, we're going to go over some of those factors. I'd say over the last 6 to 9 months, especially, it's been a waste of time to set up at a car show. And this is for those that had the intention of selling and not buying or trading. Now, this video is not going to be for everybody because I acknowledge that there's going to be some people out there that don't have much of an online presence, and they rely on shows with customers they know will show up for them. They know will buy just from them. Maybe it's low-end singles they're moving. Maybe it's mid-end singles. Maybe it's wax. And maybe there's some sort of a wholesale model. So this isn't just old school people that have been doing this for 8 to 10 plus years, but it could be somebody with like a wholesale model that doesn't have much of an online presence and is able to buy bulk lots at really like rock bottom prices and need some place to turn those over. Also, there could be some full-time dealers that rely on shows for networking and also are able to move, mid to high end cards at these shows. Every show is going to be different. Some will have more of that high end demographic with regards to some of the clientele. But this video is going to be for most of you, like myself, that do this part time. Okay, so first of all, just wanted to get this out there. There is a proliferation, obviously, of card shows and a dilution of customers across the existing and new card shows that are occurring, whether they be, well, I don't think there's any that are daily yet, but weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, annually. There are just so many shows out there. And dealer table space is easier to come by than ever. So this first factor is going to be specific to today's environment, the downtrending of prices, the base cards in high pop, modern, ultra modern stuff falling out of favor, liquidity constraints that are affecting a lot of people these days. I just think it's a poor environment to be selling at card shows right now. When I go to a card show, I look around and I see a lot of display cases. Side of those display cases, I see a lot of the same stuff. It might not be the same card, but it all feels the same to me. In my reaction to it is this. And I'm more and more repulsed by what I'm seeing. See, when I went to the National in 2019, I was drawn to slabs that were inside display cases. I would see in the corner of my eye, my peripheral vision would pick up, oh, that must be a slab. That looks like something shiny. That's really awesome. Let's check it out. Now it's the complete opposite. Now everybody has the shiny stuff. Everybody's at the modern, ultra modern stuff. Well, my first reaction is this. My second reaction in my head is, you should have sold that in the first quarter. At the latest. You should have sold that on eBay. All this stuff should be gone. Why are you trying to sell this when everybody else has the same stuff at this show? I think as a hobby, we thought that the end of 2021 was somewhat of a buyer's market. I'm pretty sure when we were in the moment in quarter one of this year, people thought it was a buyer's market. But looking back on it now, that actually seemed like a pretty good time to sell stuff, right? Looking at the prices of today, looking at the index over the last 6 months, just Card Ladder's Ultra Modern Index, not sure what exactly it's comprised of off the top of my head, but you see a 30% fall over the last 6 months. So, okay, maybe you don't have that in your display case. Maybe you want to bring out some high-end stuff. Well, guess what? The high-end stuff isn't really moving this year at shows. Again, all shows are a little bit different, but from my observations, it's not easy to move that stuff. And going back to 2018, 2019, it wasn't a good time to sell high-end stuff at a lot of shows back then either, when the market was sort of in a state of normalcy. Well, I want to sell this stuff. How do I get rid of it? Well, if you need the cash flow, like a lot of people do, use eBay auctions. eBay, in my opinion, is still fairly strong for low-end stuff to mid-end stuff. If you hate eBay or you don't like dealing with the whole shipping process, the tedious act of taking pictures, then there's a lot of consignment companies that sell through eBay. If you don't like that idea, if you hate the fees, then there's also Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Discords. There's other ways to sell stuff faster than at shows. And also, guys, time is money. You might think it takes a long time to take a picture of something and list it yourself, but it also takes a lot of time to prepare for a show and price cards, which you then have to reprice, because guess what? They didn't sell. 98% of what you took out didn't sell. So you've got to reprice it the next time. And you've got to stay on top of that because the market's been volatile lately. You've got to set up at the show, which means you've got to load up your car, unload it, and then after the show, you've got to load it up again and unload it again. And at the show itself, could be 5 hours, maybe it's 8 hours long. So you're at the show for say 6-7 hours and you think you can multitask and maybe price some stuff while you're there or be somewhat productive. Well, guess what? If you're on your phone the whole time, good luck making sales, because the whole lack of eye contact thing, it's not great, especially when we're probably in a buyer's market right now, right? You kind of have to suck up to the customer more than usual. Okay, so maybe you want to set up at the card show to sell to another dealer. Well, guess what? The other dealers are broke like you. They're probably over levered. They are cash poor, card rich like you, and you're probably not going to be able to sell anything to them. Okay, so maybe your retort to this is, well, I like to sell at card shows so I can avoid, submitting to the IRS at the end of the year, and I don't want to pay any taxes. I already pay enough already through my other job, or maybe you just hate the IRS, whatever. You think you're above the law and you shouldn't have to pay taxes. I get it. I hate the IRS too, but well, what do you know? Cash is hard to come by at card shows. So then there's also electronic ways of transmitting cash. PayPal Friends and Family is a good way of accepting money. And yes, it doesn't leave as much of a paper trail that's easily accessible versus goods and services and other electronic means. But how many people really have balances in their PayPal right now to be able to send friends and family? Friends and family payments, Venmo payments, Zelle payments, they require physical cash to actually exist somewhere in some account. But if people don't have the money, how is that payment going to originate at all? All right, so the next reason why it doesn't make sense to set up at card shows is because of information asymmetry. Standard display cases, which most people that set up at shows have at least one of those, if not two, if not three, they fit 36 slabs. So the standard display case will fit 36 slabs if you don't overlap them. Now, if you have two, that's 72 slabs. That already is a lot more cards than what a customer is bringing in. You're not going to have just one or two display cases. In order to fit that 6 to 8 foot table, you're going to need some dollar boxes, maybe a value box with slabs, maybe some other stuff sprinkled across the table. Maybe you don't even have display cases. I don't know. The point is, you're going to have more cards out than a customer will have in his average size Pelican case. So what I'm trying to get to is that there's a lot of different factors to track to understand each of those cards' market. Each card has a different market. It's got different factors affecting its value. It's not just about the price that you slapped on it via sticker the day before when you priced the thing. You're trying to sell a J-Rod Blue Refractor Auto, Bowman Chrome Auto, but you don't know that there was a gold that recently sold yesterday or today. You don't know that there have been maybe one or two sales of the base Bowman Chrome Auto since you priced it, and that the value of yours is ultimately affected by the value of the base Bowman Chrome autograph in at least some way, right? One would argue. So what I'm trying to get to is that there's a good chance that you're going to be vulnerable to somebody taking advantage of you not knowing something about one of your cards. You're not going to be able to know all of that in your head. It's just impossible. The more cards that you're trying to sell, the more vulnerable you are, in my opinion. And you've got this Pelican boy that's either maybe he's trying to buy something, maybe he's trying to execute some sort of trade, and he's got maybe 10 to 15 cards. Maybe he has 25 cards, and he knows more about those 25 than you know about each of those 72 to 200 that you have on your table. You're just more susceptible to get screwed, basically. And the customer has more leverage over the dealer. Now, this is something where I've realized this over the course of the last few years, and I've stopped bringing my dollar box out. Well, why? Phil, you can make easy money with that. That sometimes could fund your table. Why are you doing that? Well, I've actually made more money keeping my dollar box at home because there have been players that have popped in that I can't keep track of. I can't completely micromanage what is in that 3-row box, 5-row box, whatever. So there's going to be some spikes. There's going to be some players that I'm going to lose track of, and their prices will have 4 to 5x'd. So I'm better off just holding that dollar box behind and then maybe going through it every 3 to 4 months and then seeing, okay, well, I've got these Otani cards. I've got these second-year Judge cards. Wow, they've gone up a lot. Some of these I'll list on eBay. Some of these I'll try to submit for grading. But it allows you to make a more measured decision for how to sell and monetize some of what's in that dollar box, okay? All right, so going back to the information asymmetry, I want you to picture in your head somebody that comes into your show to buy often, but he doesn't ever set up and have a table. His name is Trevor. Trevor is smarter than you. Trevor has better margins than you. He has impressive sales volumes. He has higher turnover. You've got the table, but he's turning around cards faster, and he has fewer cards than you because he's better at selling than you. And Trevor doesn't even sell that much at card shows. He sells elsewhere. He sells when the odds are in his favor. He sells when there's a better balance of buyers and sellers in a certain place. A card show is just not one of them. If anything, at a card show, you want to be buying like Trevor and not selling like yourself. You need to be more like Trevor. You need to be less like you, even if that means you're a Pelican boy, whatever. So the third factor for why it doesn't make sense to set up at shows is that there's somewhat of a bad influence that you could be affected by subconsciously, and or you could be forced into some bad decisions. So let me explain that. There's a couple parts here. First of all, you might feel obliged. I have in the past. I fell into this trap where you're like, I don't know if I have enough inventory to fill up all the space in my display case or in my table for the show that I'm doing 3 to 4 weeks from now. So you might in your head be more inclined to buy stuff on eBay or wherever. You're just buying more cards without a solid investment thesis, without a comprehensive and well thought out exit strategy, and you're just bringing it to the show just to sell it. Well, guess what? It's probably not going to move. Then you've got all these extra cards that potentially you overpaid for, that potentially you don't want anymore, that you don't have an exit strategy for, and that just adds up on top of all of the other cards you also haven't sold yet. So being a dealer could be very counter towards your overall and number one objective, which is to maximize profits. Also, another part of this, the bad influence and being forced into bad decisions, is when you're setting up for a show, say it's monthly, and you've got a bunch of cards that you purchased maybe 2 months ago where your anticipated holding period is 9 months. You want to hold on this stuff till February or March before baseball season starts because you think it'll be hotter then. But you've got all this empty space in your table and your display case, so you're just like, I'll just bring out those cards just to bring them out. Well, okay, you bring those cards out and you're having a slow show. Maybe it's the third or fourth hour. You haven't really sold much. And then you've got somebody that comes to your table and is interested in some of those cards that you didn't really want to sell, but you needed to bring them because you had nothing else to bring. And then maybe you're forced into selling those cards. So you're having a bad day. It's a good way to kind of ramp up that cash flow number a little bit. But at the end of the day, you probably would have had a more successful day if you didn't go to the show at all, because maybe that card, if you had held it a little bit longer and stuck with your original investment thesis, you would have ended up making more money. All right, guys. So in conclusion, I still think shows are great. Shows are a great place to network, to hang out with people, to buy stuff. Right now, especially, it can be good for trading too. I'm not great at trading. I'll do it once in a while. I wouldn't say I'm a great trader though. I think certainly they make a lot of sense for buying and trading though. But given the disproportionate number of sellers versus buyers that exist at most shows today, given the lack of cash that's available in people's wallets and PayPal, friends and family, Venmo, Zelle accounts, etc., I don't think it makes sense to sell, especially in today's environment. We went over those 3 factors. The first factor had to do with the lack of disposable income, issues with the hawkish stance of the Fed and liquidity tightening up in the economy. So my stance is likely to soften over the next few months or years or however long that part of the equation takes to alleviate a little bit. But factors 2 and 3, I think, still very much stand. And again, this isn't for everybody. There's going to be some full-time dealers out there where this is what they do and it works for them. But I think for most of us that set up at these regional shows. It's just a waste of our time, guys. It really is. All right, guys. Well, that's it. I've got to get to organizing some stuff. I've got a show coming up in a week and a half where I've got to do a lot of prep stuff for. No, I really do actually have a show. Ugh. Um, Next week, I might actually put out a video that is what my friend asked and tips if you're forced into setting up at a card show, if you have no other way to do it, and if it's your first time, second time, third time, you're sort of new to doing it. I'll reveal some of what I think could be some best practices to follow. All right, guys, that's it. Let me know if you agree, disagree down below. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good weekend. Filmington out.